I have 2 books at my bedside, Lieutenant. The Marine Corps Code of Conduct and the King James Bible.
I hate snakes, Chuck! I hate them! And may the Christian Lord guide my hand against a Roman popery!
And they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
We're on a mission from God.
Entitled, you want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Maybe we should chug on over to Mamby-Pamby land, where maybe we can find some self-confidence for you, you jackwagon!
Coming to you live from his padded cell high atop Bethel Church, the most heralded, the most despised talk show in all of human history. This is the talk show hell hates. This is Pastor Mike Online.
Coming to you nearly alive from our top secret broadcasting bunker here in Area 52. This is Pastor Mike, and I'm online, and I am nearly alive today. Good to be with you today. Thank you for your prayers. I am still not well. I did finally go again to the doctor. Lisa drugged me over there kicking and screaming. Well, I wasn't kicking and screaming. Didn't have the energy for it. But anyway, she took me over there, and, they're calling it an infection, bacteria, whatever. I told you Sunday, my white blood cells are the only thing keeping me alive right now. So, put me on some medicine. I don't even know what I'm taking. Anyway, but I'm taking it because Lisa keeps going, here, okay, like giving a worm pill to a dog. You ever give a worm pill to a dog? Okay, it's the most difficult task known to man. We can fly to the moon easier than we can give a worm pill to a dog. If you've ever done it, we used to have a dog. They just don't like worm pills for some reason. Heartworms. Dogs get heartworms, and so you take the pill and you can put wet dog food around it and give it to them, and they'll lick all the wet dog food off the pill and spit the pill out. And so I developed a trick where I had like a little bitty ham roll, cheese roll, maybe a ham and cheese roll, a little bit, and I would stick the pill to the cheese, and I'd roll it up real tight, and finally get our dog, as soon as she started chewing it, hold her mouth shut, where she didn't have a choice but to swallow. So anyway, sort of like that. But anyway, I'm here today. I am still not well. It'll be probably a few days before I start feeling back enough to where I feel good again. But I thought, I'm here. I'm going to talk about some things. I've still got my lunch back here, and I want to tell you, Robert and Trish go to our church, and he's been manager of a frozen custard place here in town, and I love frozen custard. It's very rich. In fact, it's called Rich's Frozen Custard, if you can get that. And anyway, they took over, and I don't know why this place shut down, but it was the Dairy Queen store here in Festus shut down. I have no idea. Don't even ask me why. Dairy Queen place shuts down. Rich's Frozen Custard moves in there, and There we go. Pushed the wrong button. Anyway, they started serving food. Now, they had a place in Hillsboro, and they were serving food there, and the food was great. But just recently here, they started serving food, and I just had I love a good patty melt. I love grilled onions and burger and cheese, just melted cheese on very buttery bun or toast or whatever it is. And this is just some of the food that they offer. And I'm telling you, when you come, I tell you about emos. Well, I'm telling you, when you come here, let me play that video.
We're going to show you how we make our fresh, homemade waffle cones.
That's Robert there.
With 2 scoops on the waffle cone maker. Spread it around just a little bit. Close the lid with a little pressure.
Invented
the timer.
The waffle cone.
And a minute, 30 seconds later. All right. Once your minute, 30 seconds is up, lift it up.
Look at there.
Waffle cone. Take it off. Put it on here. Turn it.
Ta-da!
And you let it sit for about 15-20 seconds, and we got our fresh homemade waffle cones.
Yeah. St. Louis invented the waffle cone. True story. 1904 World's Fair. They were invented there because there was an ice cream vendor and at the 1904 World's Fair, and he was putting, ice cream on the little, regular ice cream cone, and cookie cone, they call it, I guess. Anyway, he ran out, and he still had people want ice cream. It's hot. So there was a guy making waffles, Belgian waffles, not too far from there, one of the other vendors, and he quickly had the idea, can you make me, out of your waffles, once you pull them off, very quickly, can you roll them up into a cone? They started rolling them up. And waffle, I would rather have a waffle cone than any other kind of cone in any day of the week. They've got burgers, hot wings, barbecue wings. They've got a chicken tenders sandwich, all kinds of salads. There's their buffalo wings. There is Patrick drooling. Let's see, there's the burgers there. Curly fries, as they say in Kenya, chips. That looks like a grilled chicken sandwich. That is a chicken salad sandwich. I like chicken salad. That's what I had. Let me pull the picture. That is what I just had. I still got a little bit left here. And I love patty melts. So anyway, when you come into Festus and you're going to visit our church and we say, hey, won't you eat here at Bethel with us, after church for lunch? Say, no, thanks. I'm going to Rich's. Okay. We won't get our feelings hurt. But anyway, yeah, Robert's over there. He's probably going, all right. He was here Sunday rooting for me while I was preaching, and I really appreciate that. Let me do this. I am ticked off. I am furious. I'm gonna talk about here in a little bit. I'm going to talk about the fact that what is called aliens in this world are princes, not Will Smith, principalities. And I'm going to show you that from the Bible. But I'm going to put a website up here. And I didn't find the article that I really wanted to find and didn't have time. I just woke up a little while ago, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do PMO. Literally, it was that quick. But I'm going to show you an article up on the screen, and I'm going to replace the lies that are on the screen with truth. This guy here, with the mustache, he's smiling. His name is Jesus. I ain't buying it. Because I just talked to Jesus this morning, and it wasn't this guy. I can tell you that. Representative Jesus Garcia, Illinois. Now, I guarantee you that's not Southern Illinois. I guarantee you it's not Southern Illinois. This is Chicago. Introduced a bill along with Ocasio-Cortez. Imagine that. This was introduced December 10th last year, just last December, a little over a month ago, 2 months ago, called the New Way Forward Act. Now, one of the websites I was looking at, let's see here, says that it has about a 4% chance of being enacted. Okay? However, you got to understand Washington. Washington doesn't play by the same rules everybody else does. It's politics. This is why this next election is absolutely going to be crucial for America and for decent America. In the Bible, walls are salvation. A wall is what's saving you from your enemies. I have things in my body right now that are trying to kill me. Some bacteria, something is trying to kill me. It's trying to take my life right now. And I have soldiers in my body. Thank God for the blood. Amen. I have white blood cells that are actively killing off what's trying to take my life away from me. And, but around every cell in my body is a wall. Why? To keep out what doesn't belong there. Now, there are entryways, and if it belongs in the cell, it can come in the cell. But if it doesn't belong there, it should stay out. This New Way Forward bill, I mentioned it Sunday. Let me tell you, you've got to spread the word on this, because this has been since December 10th, and nobody knows about it. But that I saw Tucker Carlson on Fox News the other day finally report on it. And here's what it'll do. It will rewrite most, if not all, immigration laws. And right now in this country, if you enter this country illegally and you commit a felony, a felonious crime, something that really doesn't hurt anybody, like raping a child, right now, once you serve a prison sentence, they put you on a bus, they ship you back down and throw your backside off down in Mexico and say, don't you ever come back here. You are trash. We do not want you in our country. You are dangerous. You're a felon. You came in here and you hurt our people. Now get out. Okay? That's the law right now. And I don't remember the number that Carlson said how many people. There's a bunch of them that once their prison sentence was done, we didn't give them a hat, a new suit, $100 and say, enjoy life. We shipped them down to the border and said, get out now. You're a criminal, and we don't want you back. This law will eliminate that. So if you come in this country illegally, get smuggled in somehow, you come in this country illegally, you commit murder, rape, whatever, you commit heinous crimes. Once you get out of prison, if you even go, you get to stay here. They will not deport you anymore. You'll get to stay here, and if these people have their way, you'll be getting health care, a driver's license, and a voting card. Are you listening to me? That's why. Do you think these people are crazy? No, they're not. They're evil. And there's a difference. They're very smart, and they're very evil. What compels them? Is it the love for the downtrodden of other nations who come to America's embracing arms? Is that it? No. It's political power. They got shown in 2016, and it surprised me too. They got shown in 2016 that America's had enough of all this liberal nonsense. We've had it. They got shown that. So their solution is, well, we'll just change America. We will bring in people from every corner of the world that doesn't know what liberty and freedom is anyway. We will bring them into this country, give them a voter ID card so that they will put us in power. We'll take away the liberties because they won't care anyway. They never had them to begin with. That angers me. Then, they're not done. That's not just what this is. Number two, it will decriminalize entry into this country illegally. It will decriminalize that. So it's like saying all the ports and all the doors are now open. You can come in at will if you like. You can come in all you want to, as many as you want to. We don't care who you are. We don't care if some prison in Mexico empties out and flushes itself out into America. We don't care. Come on in. We will no longer decriminalize. We will no longer criminalize entering into this country illegally. That's the second thing that it'll do. Here's the third thing it'll do. You get ready for this one. It'll make it retroactive, which means that if we've already thrown your criminal backside out of this country, expect to get a plane ticket in the mail back to the United States of America, because we're giving you a get in the country free card. I'm not making that up. It's the absolute truth. Now, the word alien, I mean, just stop and think about what it means. There is something alien to my body right now. It is alien. It is foreign. And it isn't this delicious patty melt. Man, I love grilled onions. See, the patty melt has a visa. It's called flavor. Patty melt has a visa. I welcomed the patty melt into my body. Why? Because I need the patty melt. I haven't eaten much. So I need it. And it benefits the body. It benefits the body. Politic, it benefits the body. So I welcome in the patty melt and all of its resources because I need them. That other stuff in me, whatever it is entered into me illegally. I did not allow it in. I did not want it in, but it got in somehow, some way. Pores in my skin, nose, breath, who knows? But it got in. I don't want it in. So I have immigration officials going throughout all of my blood looking for illegal aliens, strangers that do not belong in my body. In fact, they're there to kill my body. Now, I am not hateful to any race, any creed, any color, any nationality. I'm not. We have, as it were, a multicultural local church. We have a multicultural worldwide following. Some of the things I like are not some of the things people in Kenya or India or Australia. I still don't get you Australians and your, what am I trying to think of? Vegemite. Ugh. But anyway, that's, everybody's got their thing. But I love everybody. And you want to come to this country, get permission. That's all we ask, get permission. And if you're somebody who has shown yourself to be dangerous and a criminal, I don't want you here. I do not want you here. So don't come. Because you're here to do some very, very bad things. That's been proven. So we don't want you here. The body doesn't need you because you'll kill the body. That's what this is about, people. It's about power. It's about money. It's about power. But that's what alien means. It means stranger. It means foreign. Now, I'm going to switch over to a different type of alien. This is what they would refer to as gods. Somebody, I don't know where this exact picture is from, but somebody 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, something like that, drew these pictures of these gods. Now, most of your anthropologists Most of your archaeologists would say these are all make-believe. They never existed in real life. They were just figments of some witch doctor's imagination. But I don't agree. Not when I read the Bible. I do not agree. I believe that what you're looking at is a 2,000-year-old, possibly 1,000-year-old maybe, who knows. You're looking at a photograph. An actual depiction of what somebody saw. Now, these things are not from here. Meaning they fit the definition of the term both stranger and alien. And I would encourage you to look up those words in your Bible. Write this down. Write alien, strange, stranger, strangers, strangeness, anything strange. If you type in STRANG, you'll probably get the word strangled in there as well. So you could type in STR. Well, let me show you. Let me show you what you could do here. STRANG, and you could add the E asterisk 288 times. Okay, now, if that cuts into your time of watching Oprah Winfrey or whatever, I promise you, what you'll learn from here is a lot better off. You're just a lot, it won't be time wasted. Studying 288 verses out of the Bible that has never killed anybody. It's time well spent. I'll give you an example. Look at here, Genesis 35:4, and they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand. That's a dun-dun-dun. That's what that is. Strange gods. And I'll say this. These don't even belong in heaven. They're getting kicked out. For what? For a crime. They're committing a crime of rebellion. And God is kicking them out. So they don't even belong in heaven. These are strange gods. And whoever depicted these saw them. And you've got, some different kinds here. Let's see here. I want a felt tip pen. Whoever saw these, you got this kind here. You got this kind here. This one is a little bit different than this one. And that's the thing. They don't all look alike. In spite of, what most people say. Oh, they all look alike to me. These don't all look alike. But these are gods. And the term alien then does apply to that. Because that's the meaning of the term alien. They are foreign. They are from... And here's another word for you to look up. They are even from a different country. Type that in. That's another 179 verses. Let me see here where I can find a good one. Yeah, Hebrews 11:9. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange what? Country. Dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob. In 11:14, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a what? A country. Let's go up here. And if truly they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity of drifting. Now, and what he's saying here is, if the country that they had just came from was what they were thinking of, then they could have gone back. But that's not the country they were looking for. Now they desire a better country, that is, heavenly. And you may not be used to referring to heaven as a country, but that's what the Bible says it is. So, these things here are not from this country. They're from a different country. That makes them strangers, and that makes them alien. Does that make sense now? All right. Check out this article. Aliens could be made from iron. Interesting. Because the iron, let's pull our Bible back out. We have the book of Daniel, 4 distinctly different kingdoms characterized by different precious metals, or different metals. Some of them are not, clay and iron are not very expensive. You have the image, his head was of fine gold, his breast and arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, legs of iron, his feet part of iron, part of clay. And that's the 4th kingdom, where the iron then mingles with clay. Iron is trying to bond with clay. Well, the clay part's very simple. That would be us. We're the clay. Mankind is the clay. That's where we came from. It's what we're made of. That's what every substance in our body is, basically the minerals that are found in the dirt. And no one, I don't care how many silver spoons they've had in their mouth, okay, they are made of exactly the same dirt that everybody else is. Now, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw in a conspiracy theory while I'm thinking about it. Laying around the last few days, I've been doing a lot of reading and researching. Now, some things I believe, some things I don't. Okay, I don't believe every conspiracy theory that flies across the internet. I don't. Not without proof, I don't. Not without direct evidence. Not without, especially biblical evidence. Okay? So what I'm about to say now, I don't have any evidence for. But we'll just see. We'll see what happens. I'm referring to Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire pedophile. The guy that's got, number one, the money. Number two, he's got the influential friends from countries all over the world. This guy's as connected as can be. In fact, he is the connection between a lot of very bad people in this world. They all link to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, is he really dead? There's some people say he ain't. Now, I don't know that. I'm not sure that I even believe it. But if he's dead, you wouldn't convince me unless I saw it with my own eyes, him hang himself. You would never convince me that he hung himself. Never. What? The whole electrical grid goes offline in the area where the jail is that they're holding him in? He was on suicide watch. Then they took him off of suicide watch. And then all of a sudden, the cameras weren't working and the guards were asleep simultaneously, all simultaneously. And then, lo and behold, he hung himself. I'm not buying it. Jeffrey Epstein had several major connections. One was Bill and Hillary Clinton. And there are physical records of dozens of times that Bill Clinton visited Epstein's pedophile island, where Epstein had these children below 18 using them as prostitutes. Bill Clinton's been out there several times. That is a fact. That is on record as a fact. Okay? You can look up flight manifests. You can look at Secret Service records, because he's still under Secret Service protection. Somebody knows something. So anyway, another guy connected with Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew. He is the brother to Prince Charles. So he's like second. If something happens to Charles, then Andrew, who is like the second brother, I think, would potentially become king of England. And yet this picture surfaced of Prince Andrew at Epstein's Island with his arm around a girl who turned out to be 17 years old. And she now is making big noise, saying, yeah, I got taken, hired, whatever, to live on Epstein's Island and to sleep with all these guys for money. And Andrew's one, and there is a picture of him with his hand around her. And then there's a video that surfaced. Supposedly after Epstein was given a slap on the wrist and released, Epstein and one of these gals is coming out of Epstein's Manhattan townhouse or whatever, and the door opens, and there's Prince Andrew waving bye to that gal. This is after Epstein's already been charged, convicted, slapped on the wrist, given a little sentence, and then let out. That surfaced. So now a statement comes out from the palace, from Buckingham Palace, saying, His Royal Highness, oh, that just irritates me. His Royal Highness, he's a prince now. I'm getting somewhere. Hang with me. His Royal Highness, Prince Andrew, will no longer be representing our family at official functions. In other words, we're going to stick him away somewhere and hide him out. Because they know he's dirty. The family knows what's going on. So they're pulling him back. And you got to understand that the royal family doesn't just sit in the royal palace, drinking champagne and eating caviar all day long. They go out and they do these high-profile functions all over the kingdom, all over the world. And for that, every member of the royal family gets a piece of the action. They get a piece of the stipend. There's a certain amount of money that comes out of the treasury of the United Kingdom that goes to the royal family. Plus all of the investments and all the holdings that the royal family has. They are very wealthy people. I mean, extremely wealthy people. So in order to get one of these stipends, a piece of the action, as it were, you go out and you do these little functions. You shake hands and wave at everybody, and you go to some orphanage or you go to some, drug rehab place, and you tell them, hurrah, you're doing a great job. Get back in your motorcade and take off. I mean, what a job, right? Okay, so they're pulling Andrew back. They're saying he's not doing this no more because we can't afford to have him out there. Press would be all over him. So then, Prince, who is it? Harry, the redhead guy, the youngest of Diana's two boys. Now, he's the party kid. He was. He what was his brother name? The older one. Anyway, the older one seemed more reserved and more like his mother Diana. But Harry was the party freak. The guy who could get the most drunk at any party. He finds this American wife and they get married. The Prince Andrew thing breaks a while back. And just recently, Prince Harry and his wife, it was Meghan Markle, which I have never seen this done in my life. They said, we're done. We're done. We are not going to take the family's money ever again. We're not going to live off of them. We're not going to go represent them. We're not going to go to some ribbon cutting. We're not going to be in a parade waving at everybody while the Queen, rides in front of us. We're done. We're going to go and we're going to make it on our own. Now, he's not working at Walmart as a greeter. I guarantee you that. And he's already got, some pretty lucrative things lined up. They're going to do some charity things or whatever. And like I say, they're not going to have to buy a used Volkswagen to get around either. They're still going to do very well for themselves. But they cut themselves off. They weren't fired. They weren't released by the palace. They didn't embarrass the Queen in any way. My guess is that something more than what anybody else knows has been going on. And this young, the prince least likely to succeed, has cut himself off and said, I will not be part of that family ever again. I'm done. It's the equivalent of come out from among them and be ye separate and touch not the unclean thing. Now, that's just, when you're sick, you lay around and you think of stuff. And I'm laying around and this just came to me and I'm just going, the two of them together might add up to something. There is some very, very evil things going on in this world by some very high-profile people. And some of it's starting to come to light. And you've got some very high-profile people that are very, very afraid. And the President of the United States is not one of them who's afraid. That's been made clear. Now, I'm out of breath. This world, all its nations, governments, militaries, organizations, religions, and peoples are being propelled into a paradigm-shifting event. Get ready. An event that will literally change everything. Turn the news on this morning, 2 different commercials for products, 2 completely different products in their commercial with, this changes everything. This will change everything. Why are they saying that? Why are they putting that out there so prominent? This will change everything. It'll change every system. Every system. Just think of something. Just think of anything. Healthcare? Yep. Change healthcare. Will it change trash pickup? Yep. Change trash pickup. Will it change the money? Yep. Change all the money. Will it change religions? Every religion. Every religion. What about people who don't practice a religion? Atheism. Yep. Yep, it's going to change them too. Philosophy, religion, government. Every government, including the United States. Yep. Every one of them. Every way of life will be affected by this. Every way of life. Every economy. Everything that right now we call technology, obsolete. Obsolete. Who sent me something? Let's see here. My mind's been in a blur. I've had the... Let's see here. I'm trying to remember who sent me an article about something. No, it wasn't Steve. Who was it? Was it John? No, it wasn't John. What was I thinking of? Anyway, it was about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is coming out this year with the means to connect the human brain to the internet. I don't want to live in that world. I don't. I do not want to live in the world where even one person's brain is connected to the World Wide Web. Not in any way do I want that. Because that person is a god. At that moment, that person now has the attributes, at least one of the attributes of a god. And I don't want to live in that world. Now, God may stick me down here, force me into it, to tell the truth or whatever. But that's coming. So you got one person whose brain is connected and linked into and can access an unlimited amount of information. What if you had 1,000 soldiers like that? Could they beat an army of 100,000? You bet. You bet. What if you had a whole nation of it? What if Kim Jong-un forcibly linked everybody in North Korea, their brain, to a private network? Not the World Wide Web, but a private network. So that for the first time in human history, nobody has an anti-collective thought. Nobody. So you got people in North Korea don't want to be in North Korea. They just don't know how to get out. They don't know how to say it. For the first time in history, you would have an entire race, an entire nation of people who would never have a thought that was not given to them by Kim Jong-un or whoever he put in charge of it. A whole nation of automatons that if he commanded them, go sacrifice yourself in battle, they don't even have to think about it. There's no morality to it. There's no self-preservation to it. They just go jump in front of whatever bullets get sent their way. You can't defeat an army like that. They're already, it's like the army of the living dead. And at some point, most human beings on this planet are going to be connected. I'm not. Never. Anyway, that event will usher in a new age. Bible prophesies this age and calls it the fourth kingdom. The day when the iron mixes or fuses or mingles itself with miry clay, literally with the seed of men. So you're talking about linking in not only with the human mind, but the reprogramming of every cell in your body. That's what's coming. Haven't talked about this in a little bit, but this Harvard astronomer, John Mack really kicked open some doors that Harvard didn't want to open, but now they're open. Nobody's shutting them. John Mack brought in this idea of extraterrestrial beings having contact and influence on this planet. And now you got a few at Harvard going, yeah, we think so. So the Umau could have been, they say, could have been some sort of alien ship among us. What they're saying is we have no idea what it was. It's not part of the solar system, never has been. Now all of a sudden it injected itself into our system. Okay? So this stuff's being talked about for real. Now let me read this. Suppose I told you that the military has been collecting information, videos, pictures, reports, other evidence, that we have been visited by people from some place in the stars. That one day the president decided to declassify all military files on UFOs and make them available to the press and to the public. Would you believe that? With that declassification, over 400 videos were released that contain clear and concise evidence of aerial vehicles performing maneuvers that are not possible for any Earth-related vehicles. Would you believe that? July 19, 2007, President of Ecuador did exactly that. He released, first of all, let me tell you about the President of Ecuador. He found out that members of his intelligence, he's this new incumbent president, he found out that the old president, the old administration in Ecuador before him, the old guard, had intelligence agents and Secret Service agents that were also very well connected with the United States Central Intelligence Agency. In other words, they weren't really working for Ecuador. They were working for the United States. Or let me say it differently. They were working for the CIA. CIA is not necessarily United States. CIA's done some pretty crooked, nasty, bad things. And some people should have gone to jail a long time ago. Some people should have went to jail while Bill Clinton was still governor of Arkansas. That never happened. So when this guy got in office and he found out that some of his top guys were working for the CIA, he threw them out. Because there had been calls before for their military to release records of UFOs, and they were always told, well, we don't have anything like that, or no, we can't do that, or whatever. Where do you think those orders were coming from? They were coming from Langley, Virginia, CIA. But this guy had the nerve to do it. Now, again, photographs. Even though they are chiseled in stone, written on canvas, painted on buildings, they are ancient depictions of things, not things that they made up in their head, things that they saw. They called them chariots. Was that the right word? According to the scriptures, yes, it was. What came down to Elijah and Elisha? A chariot. Where did it come from? Ford? Come from Ford, It come from Ford? Did it come from, I don't know, Philistines? No. It came from heaven. It came from a different country. God sent down a chariot, a fiery horse. So that tells us that they were the angelic realm. Something to think about. And I mentioned this here a while back, is that there's something I think unique about heaven that is not, we don't see it here. Let me find, okay. I'll use this for an example. Now, I think this ball here made of plastic. And the map surrounding it, of course, is paper. Now, at one time, the paper on this map was alive because it came from a tree. The tree was alive. The tree had growing cells, reproducing cells. The cells took in nutrients, expelled waste. It was able to reproduce. So that's sort of the definition of life. It was living. And you and I, what makes us alive is, even though the compounds of our body are nothing more than minerals and dirt, what makes us alive is the living soul that God breathed into us. Follow that, okay? So here's something I think about the things in heaven, is that it's very possible that many of them, if not all of them, I can't say that 100%, are actually living, like the wheels that were with the angels in Ezekiel chapter 1. Because the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. and they were literally alive. When God dwells in a temple, he dwells in a temple that's not made with man's hands. And those temples are all alive, living temples. Jesus said in Revelation, said, to him that overcometh will I make him a pillar in the house of my God. I will make him, literally, a living thing, a pillar in the house of my God. Meaning that God's house, what we would consider an inanimate, lifeless object, is actually alive. It's interesting stuff. That chariot and that horse were both made of the same thing, and they both seem to have life in them. Both of them did. So, when you look at things like this, they're not just dead machines. They themselves, these chariots themselves, are living beings. You don't believe that? Okay, let me quote scripture. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. So what that tells you is the chariot is an angel. And that particular angel is in the form of a chariot. Here's some other ones. What do you have here? So you got something flying in the air here. You got these strange looking creatures with like praying mantis heads or something like that. I don't know. Here you have a chariot up here, glowing disc. This was etched in stone. What in the world is that down there? Every civilization, every culture had stories of the gods riding in chariots drawn by winged horses. What does that tell you? What was it when Elisha, Lord, open the eyes of my servant, let him see. What did he see? That they were surrounded by chariots of fire and horses of fire. Because he kept telling him, hey, there's more on our side than there are on theirs. No, they're not. We're out there. There's like 3 of us. Lord, open his eyes. Let him see. And he opened his eyes. And the mountains and the hills were covered with chariots and horses of fire. God's angels. Building a wall, by the way. Building a wall. Here you have this. This looks like Japanese, maybe. Here. Yeah, this Batman there. I'm Batman. This must be the Batmobile then. Here we have a chariot drawn by dragons, serpents. Okay. Is any of this real? Yes. I say yes. I say because I know what the Bible says. I know that everything that I'm seeing here is not outside of the realm of possibility scripturally. The Hindu god Surya, the sun god. And this is not just in Hindu. It's not just in India. The Greeks had it. The Egyptians believed it. Probably the ancient North and South American tribes, they all believed that the sun was pulled across the sky by a chariot or in a chariot of some kind. The Vimanas from ancient India. Ancient Sanskrit texts called the Vedas depicted chariots of the gods flying through the heavens, able to go anywhere at almost any speed. By the way, these things got into a war. These things got into a war with each other. There's a place somewhere, I want to say India, it might be Pakistan, but somewhere around in there, there was, and still to this day, is the evidence that the equivalent of, if not a nuclear bomb, went off several thousand years ago in this one area. And it was written in one of their holy books. And they described that people couldn't go anywhere near the place for years, and if they did, they got sick and they died. Sounds like radiation poisoning. There's the biblical equivalent to that would be Sodom and Gomorrah and the other two cities that were destroyed by God. I mean, it rained fire and brimstone down on them. And I'm not saying that God detonated, Fat Man and Little Boy across Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't know what that are, look it up. But I'm not saying God did that. I'm just saying that there was a massive explosion over those four cities. And God literally wiped them off the face of the earth. They're gone. Somebody's sending me a text here. All right, anyway. Yeah, more depictions. Look at this. You got something flying in. You got a flying tent in the air with, I don't know what these little deals are here. Little crescent moon things here. And people are pointing to them. This guy's, hey, look at that. Man, I just got off of that, man. It was great, man. Flying buildings, flying chariots, being drawn by horses through the sky. Again, all of these ideas are within biblical norms. The Bible gives you the substance of what the spiritual realm looks like, of which this world is a shadow of that. This world is not the real world, and heaven is a mythological place that we make up in our mind. This that we live in is the shadow. Heaven's the real place. And the spiritual realm is the real place. So most of our thinking is limited to three-dimensional, this world thinking that everything in this world, because I can touch it, this is the only thing that's real. When in fact, this world and everything in it is not the real. Heaven is, and the world of heaven is real. This is in Chhattisgarh state in India. Why do they got to have names of states in India that you can't pronounce? Why don't they have states like Mississippi and Massachusetts? Things you can actually pronounce. Susquehanna, easy stuff to say like that. Okeechobee, everybody can say Okeechobee, but who can say Chhattisgarh or whatever? Anyway, some of the oldest cave drawings in the world right here. And here's a chariot. Here's some kind of big-headed God, see this guy right here? Take a look at that. You tell me what you think that looks like. You tell me what you think that looks like. And people have been seeing these things for years. In some cases, afraid like the devil to say anything about it. I was watching something yesterday, and it was dealing with the South American nations of Chile, the Atacama Desert, Peru. And the desert down in there, the desert area, like especially where the Nazca lines are, there's places there it has not rained. A drop of rain has not fallen from the sky in hundreds of years. And that's how barren and dry it is. NASA sends groups down there to conduct experiments because the terrain, they say, is extremely similar to what's on Mars. But it's down there that you have, it's probably one of the, if you ever wanted to go and spend time there and we're pretty sure that you're going to see a UFO, that would be the place to do it. Because it's like they show up there all the time. And there was a story, I think it was about 20, 30, 40 years ago, something like that. But within recently modern times, not talking about 1,000 years ago, but a military group was doing exercises out, and they saw this ship land. And so several of the soldiers went out toward it, this is at night, to see what was going on, and their captain walked toward the craft. And his fellow soldiers said he just sort of disappeared in the light. Well, a couple minutes later, the craft disappears, and their captain's laying there, dizzy, decimated, in a haze. He's got 5 days' growth of beard on him, and his watch has gone forward 5 days. And this all happened in just a matter of minutes. Documented story. Now, you don't believe that? Let me tell you what else the Bible says. The book of Daniel says that concerning the beast, he shall think to change times and laws, and they are given into his hand. The manipulation of time. When Satan showed Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, and to me it's very possible that he showed him not just the ones that were present at that particular moment, but I think it possible that he showed him every single kingdom, past, present, and future, right then in a moment of time, the Bible says. Boom. Says, I'll give you all these kingdoms if you'll bow to me. So the manipulation of time, I think, is within the realm of possibility according to the scriptures. Now, and all this is called paleo contact. In other words, we didn't just make up UFOs, with a movie or a TV show. The thing from outer space, that didn't start everything. This has been going on for thousands of years. You have paintings where in the background you've got objects flying in the sky. Here's one here. and it's emitting a beam right down onto this lady here. That's wacky stuff. Coins where are depicted craft up in the sky. Here's one here. This is a photograph. I can't remember where it's from, but this is a close-up of it, and it matches very closely to this. Here is the front of a book. The principles of mathematics, I guess, is how that is. Deo Mathematicorum Principe. Deo means God. But notice the insignia on the front of this book here. And it has a disc up here. But notice it has PS 84 V12. That's Psalm 84. And it says, "For the Lord God is a sun and shield." I like that verse. That's one of my favorite places in the Bible. And I'll tell you why. Because it's true. Between Mars and Jupiter, there is a thing called the asteroid belt. And some say that it's the remnants of what used to be a planet between Mars and Jupiter. And it could very well be. There is a reference in the Bible to something called Rahab. And God said he broke it all in pieces. And there's been some that said Rahab, it's possible that Rahab was that planet between Mars and Jupiter. But there's one thing that's keeping all of those asteroids away from us. And it's the sun. And the orbit and the the orbit and the gravity of the sun is keeping all of those asteroids in their place, or anything entering into our solar system because of the sun's gravity. The sun then would be a shield to the earth. When we finally took pictures of the back of the moon, the dark side of the moon, they call it, it looks altogether different than the face of the moon that you and I are used to seeing. While there are craters on the front of the moon that we see, there's large areas where there's almost nothing there. When you look at the back of the moon, it's covered with them. And it's like the moon is acting as a shield to the earth for anything that would come flying in. Instead of hitting at earth, it hits our shield. It hits the moon. God's smart. God is in the protection business, people. He is our shield. The fact that you're still alive, the fact that you're still saved, the fact that we can still preach the gospel, God is the one that's shielding us. He's the one protecting us. He's the one giving us grace. Look at this Egyptian hieroglyph. Look at that. That's a dun-dun-dun right there. Now, there are a large collection of things that are very similar to what I'm circling right now. This is in a Mexican museum. That clearly is a flying disc, very clearly. You can't really see it here. It's not. I don't have a close-up of it. But there's some kind of creature there. Now, the jury's still out on that particular artifact and the ones that are similar to it, whether they're real or not. So I don't say much about them. It's possible to fake artifacts. People do it all the time. They put them on the black market. I mean, it's done. By the way, I just noticed something right here where you got all these alien-headed looking things with this flying hamburger. Look at there. See those symbols there? I don't know what they mean in hieroglyphics, but I know what they mean in science. Bobby pins. I'm sick. I ain't thinking right. There are a large amount of artifacts that you have what look almost identical to what people would say a gray alien looks like. I don't know how real they are. Is the reason why I've not been throwing them out there saying, man, you got to look at this. This is proof right here. They could be manufactured. There's one guy out there, I watched him over the weekend. He's promoting them like they're real. I don't know. I mean, he's got a DVD on them. It sells DVDs. I'll say that. So I don't know if it's real or not. I don't need them as evidence to believe and to say some of the things that I'm saying. Chinese, Japanese. We saw this earlier. It's chariot coming out of a cloud, flying in the sky. Here's one. Looks like they've got some kind of gun shooting these deer. This one here, there is a story that was told. These Japanese fishermen saw this craft come up out of the ocean. And when it opened up, this woman came out holding this rectangular, looks like a big long bread box or a shoebox. She spoke in a language that no one could understand. And after a while, she went back in her ship and went, and all up and down the Japanese coast, these people were telling the same story. She did the same thing. She got out, talked to them for a while, and would never let go of that box. Got back in, took off. That happened, I don't know, several times. But they were describing the symbols that were on, I think, either that ship or on that box or something like that. And these symbols have been seen before on different UFOs. The one at Bentwaters, look that up. Air Force Base, NATO base in England, were on two different nights around Christmas back in the 80s. Saucer landed in the woods. The one of the commanders of the base went over there. He had a pocket cassette recorder, and he's recording what he's seeing. He's recording every detail of what he's seeing. And, that actually happened. But some of those same symbols that are right there is what you see were on that ship. Same thing. Now, what does that mean? According to Deuteronomy 28, let's pull that up. God said, this is what I'm going to do. God says, I'm going to unleash this on you. I'm going to turn some people loose on you you're not going to like. He says in verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. A what? A nation. A nation, a type of people. From far, from the end of the earth. Where's the end of the earth? as swift as the eagle flieth. That's not the first time he's equated them with flying eagles. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, meaning they look evil. They absolutely look evil. Which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Notice this. He shall eat the fruit of thy cattle. Ba, ba, ba. Linda Moulton Howe got into the whole UFO thing because she was sent out as an investigative reporter to look into cattle mutilations back in the 70s. If you remember that. When I was a kid, we were walking, me and a bunch of my buddies were walking down the road one time, and we saw this roadkill dog or something like that. We'd been hearing them talk about cattle mutilations, and we were going, that's one of them, man. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. You know, we didn't know what it was. We thought there was a witch cult, you know, or something that did that. It was just a roadkill. But she got involved in the whole cattle mutilation thing. And she started investigating, and she said, in every one of these, there's not a drop of blood. Not a drop of blood anywhere in these cattle. None. Completely, what's the word they use? Exsanguinated. Something like that. But anyway, I got to move on. I got to get to the scriptures of this. There's more. These are the gods. These are the gods that people have seen for thousands of years. Okay? These are not people. They're not us. Hang on. I have a cough button. When I push it, it makes me cough. The Flying Pearl, according to Chinese astronomer scholar Shen Kuo, in his book Dream Pool Essays, in the year 1088, an object that was described as a flying pearl appeared over the city of Yangzhou, China. This object had doors that opened. It would emit a blinding light from its interior that cast a shadow from trees in a 10-mile radius and was able to take off at tremendous speeds. That's Ezekiel 1. They have the ability to go to disappear and appear as fast as lightning goes. And I don't mean take off, accelerate, get to top speed, slow down, stop, turn around, accelerate, get to top speed, slow down, stop. They leave without acceleration. They stop without deceleration. Even Josephus wrote about a chariot army over Judea. AD 65. This took place apparently during the Apostle Paul's day. Before sunset, throughout all parts of the country, chariots were seen in the air and armed battalions hurtling through the clouds and encompassing the cities. And that's the verse I was talking about a while ago, 2 Kings 6:17. Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray that you open his eyes and he may see. The Lord opened the eyes of the young man. He saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. It was an entire army that had surrounded them of supernatural beings. Above nature, not from this world beings. And by the way, these were the good guys. These were the good guys. Now, Nuremberg, Germany, April 14th. They chronicled this. Residents of Nuremberg witnessed what seemed to be an aerial battle over their city. They described objects shaped like orbs, crosses, cylinders, and black arrow-like vessel. After some time, they heard what they seemed to be a major crash outside of the city. There is some evidence that there was a UFO crash in a town in Germany. Hitler was notified. And all of a sudden now, and I mean literally all of a sudden, Germany has weapons that nobody else has. Werner von Braun was the head of Hitler's Department of Rockets, if you want to call it that. And von Braun was asked, how did you figure all this out? And he said, it was given to us. This technology was given to us. Okay? All right. Even March 29th, 1897, there was reports all over the country of an airship. Notice this. Airship viewed the third time by, quote, reputable citizens as opposed to people like us, right? The Battle of Los Angeles. That's what this is. Pearl Harbor had just been bombed, and all of a sudden, these big balls of light were shown over Los Angeles, and the Army went nuts. They started sending anti-aircraft stuff. They lobbed everything they had against these things. Didn't hit a one of them. They thought the Japs have got something, the Germans have got something. That's what they thought it was. Kenneth Arnold, sees these. He doesn't see disc-shaped. He sees these little, what's called a planform object, flying in a V formation over Mount Rainier, Washington State. Estimated speed, 1,700 miles an hour. We didn't have, you understand, 1947, we didn't have anything that traveled at 1,700 miles an hour. We didn't have anything like that. Nobody did. Well, somebody did. Roswell. Okay, so here's the question. Did Roswell really happen? Was there... Now, see, Pastor, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying that these ships are of a spirit nature. Yes. Then how do they crash, which doesn't make sense? And then whoever's in them, how do they get killed, which also doesn't make sense? And believe me, that was the same question I asked for years. Because I'm just going, it doesn't make sense. If I believe that these things are spirits in the spiritual realm, why in the world would they all of a sudden run into each other, blow up with dead devil bodies laying all over the floor? Didn't make sense. Okay? Let me read this. Director, FBI, March 22nd, 1950. Subject, flying saucers. An investigator for the Air Forces stated that 3 so-called flying saucers have been recovered in New Mexico. It wasn't just one, by the way. And the way it looked was that these 3 crashed into each other. The one at that ranch was busted all in pieces. It was pieces scattered everywhere. They recovered another one near Corona, New Mexico. And then a couple years later, they found a third one. The third one they found, they surmised it had been there since they found the other 2. They just didn't find this one. So they were described as being circular in shape with raised centers, approximately 50 feet in diameter. Each one was occupied by 3 bodies of human shape, but only 3 feet tall, dressed in metallic cloth of a very fine texture. Each body was bandaged in a manner similar to the blackout suits used by speed flyers and test pilots. According to Mr. X, that's a dun-dun-dun. The saucers were found in New Mexico due to the fact that the government has a very high-powered radar set up in that area, and it is believed the radar interferes with the controlling mechanisms of the saucers. Again, you're going to ask the question, if these are spirit entities, What's radar got to do with it? Well, number one, you need to understand, radar wasn't in the same use as it is now, 1947, 1950, but the most powerful radar setup in the world was at Holloman Air Force Base, because in 1947, it was the only nuclear bomb strike force in the world. In the world. The Russians didn't even have them by then. And so we were guarding. We didn't put our atomic bombs out in Alaska somewhere where the Russians could get to them easily. We made them hard to get to. And we covered that whole area with a very powerful radar system. And there was the idea was there was something about that messed them up. Now, no further evaluation was attempted by Mr. X concerning the above, March 22nd, 1950. Now, and then Project Blue Book. That's J. Allen Hynek. This is from the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Because Spielberg based the title of it upon Hynek's Close Encounter classification system. First kind, verified UFO sighting. Second kind, verified landing. Third kind, verified alien contact. Fourth kind, alien abduction. That's Hynek there. When the Air Force hired Hynek, he did not believe. They hired him because he was skeptic. And he said, there's no way this stuff is real. Along the way, he's being told by the Air Force, cover this one up. We don't care what you say about it, but this one doesn't see the light of day. This one doesn't come out as the truth. This is swamp gas. This is some other kind of nonsense. That wasn't a UFO, and these are not aliens. He was told that. And then Hynek, after Project Blue Book lets him go, he goes around the world to the day he dies making lectures saying, I lied, and they're real. This is the McMinnville UFO. These photographs have never been refuted, ever. Let me show you this video very quickly. I was going to show you all of it. Nick Mariano was a minor league baseball coach, Great Falls, Montana. And he sees these things. He's at his office at the ballpark, and he sees these things. He runs down to his car, grabs his camera, sets it up, and this is what he captures. Really, the first time UFOs were ever captured on film that we know of.
I'll show you the Montana film. This film was shot August the 15th, 1950.
August 15th, 1950. Here's a little bit.
This is the Montana film, projected exactly as it was photographed.
Those are the two. He described them as silver discs,
28-mile-an-hour wind.
like highly polished silver. Then they disappeared. And he said, get this. He said they were traveling much slower than the Air Force jets that came shortly after. Because apparently the Air Force scrambled jets after these things. Okay? Now, Salem, Massachusetts, 1952. Sicily, December 10th, 1954. Now, here's the scriptures. I'm going to be done. Psalm 82:6. Here's why Roswell and others are probably true. Here's why. I have said, ye are gods. So whether they are good angels, bad angels, whether they are the 2/3 of the angels that are the servants of the Most High God, or they are the 1/3 that falls with Satan in Revelation chapter 12, they are all of the realm of gods, little g gods. Gods meaning that they are all of the angelic realm, number one, and number two, they are immortal. They are immortal, meaning they don't die, right? However, your gods and all of you are children of the Most High. That should settle the issue of who the sons of God are in Genesis 6. A son of God is a child of God. The Son of God is God, right? The son of a duck is a duck. The son of a human is a human. The Son of God is God. You're gods. All of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men and fall like one of who? The princes. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. Principalities. There it is right there. Principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. And I believe all four apply to these things. They are princes in that they are spirits, they are devils. They are gods in that they live in the angelic realm and they are immortal. And yet, God said, here's what I'm going to do. You're down here mingling in this world, and I don't want you down there. I don't want you doing what you're doing. So for that, up to now, you've been immortal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make you fall out of the sky, and you're going to die. And that is exactly what I think has happened. Psalm 20, verse 7. Here's a second witness. Some trust in chariots, some in horses. Now, you think about what we just said here. Let me ask you the question. If three crashed discs were captured by the United States military, what would we do with them? Yard sale? Would we bring everybody in? Hey, bring the press and show them what we got. Would we do that? Would they do that? Absolutely not. We knew right after, during World War II, Stalingrad was our friend, was our ally. We were fighting against Germany. But immediately after the fall of Berlin, Russia's not our friend anymore. Especially when they developed their atomic bombs. And now we're going, at some point it's going to be us versus them. And we knew that we had machinery that did things that no other aircraft on this earth could do. We had instances where MiG jets, Russian jets, would get shot down. If we had a chance to, what would we do? We would go and get them. Why? Find out their technology. Did they have something that we didn't have? And did they have some sort of radar jamming? Did they have this? Did they have that? And if they had it, then we wanted to know that they had it so that we could develop something that would circumvent what they had. That's what you do in warfare. That's what you do in defense. So we kept them. The MiGs, whatever the Chinese had, Whatever. We kept it. We figured it out. If you saw the movie The Hunt for Red October, supposedly the Russians developed an ultra-quiet drive so you couldn't hear their submarines coming. They could park a submarine in New York Harbor and you'd never know it. So the movie turns out the captain ends up giving it over to the United States, but they're going, we got to have this thing so we can figure out how it works. So at least, number one, we can build our own. Number two, we can figure out how to figure out whether or not they're there or not. National defense. I get it. But I think that elements of our military, I mean, we quit trusting in God, right? God is no longer a sun and a shield to this nation. And if we had God as our shield, we wouldn't need flying saucers. We wouldn't need alien technology. God would protect us. They don't believe that anymore. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Read the next verse. They are brought down and fallen. But we are risen and stand upright. Don't let this stuff scare you, people. Here I am saying that. Sometimes it does me. Sometimes it bothers me. I've got a Watchman broadcast that I have been too sick to record. I've got it. I don't have all the script done, but I have the first part ready to go. And I'm not kidding you. Since I got that part done, I have been too sick to even record it. And it deals with another of these races of aliens. And the more I dig into it, man, these things are evil. They are absolutely pure evil. And when you get sick, when I get sick, I get emotional. When I get emotional, sometimes I get full of fear. Okay? So that tells you where I've been in the last week and a half. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. They are brought down and fallen. We are risen and stand upright. So what I'm telling you is, I have every intention of getting this thing recorded. It'll be a long series. There's a lot there. And I'm not even got to the gray aliens yet. This will be on the North Country aliens. The ones from the North Country. Jeremiah 48, for because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken. In Chemosh, he's a god, shall go forth into captivity with his priest and his who? His princes together. These are gods. Jeremiah 49:3, how, O Heshbon, for Ai is spoiled. Cry, ye daughters of Rabbah, gird ye with sackcloth, lament, and run to and fro by the hedges, for their king shall go into captivity, and his priest and his princes together. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. These princes, I believe, are principalities. They are devils. Job 12, he leadeth princes away spoiled and overthroweth the mighty. Remember what the giants were called? These were mighty men. How could you hear that? How can you hear that? I thought I muted it. Huh. Maybe my mute button doesn't work. Job 12:21, he poureth contempt upon princes and weakeneth the strength of the mighty. People, this is what God promised he'd do for us. Now, if you've ever had devils climbing on you, it's a bad experience. It is. It's a terrible experience. But understand, God hates these things. They are contemptible to him. And he will weaken their strength so that they will not be able to stand even in your presence. Because you're a son of God. Psalm 76, he shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. Spirit of princes. That's connecting it. Psalm 105:22, to bind his princes at his pleasure and teach his senators wisdom. Amen. Amen. I hit the wrong button. Amen. That they had enough wisdom, that our senators had enough wisdom to not believe that nonsense. Let me tell you what this impeachment was all about. It's about a gas company in Ukraine called Burisma that has funneled millions of dollars into the Clinton family, the Biden family, and the Romney family. Make sense now? Does it make sense now? Why Mitt Romney went against his own party, the only one to vote to find the president guilty of something he didn't do. Romney, there is an aide, a consultant or something like that attached to Mitt Romney that is getting money from this gas company from Ukraine run by this oligarch who is as corrupt as George Soros is. But God gave our senators wisdom. Ezekiel 26, then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones. Somebody say amen. And lay away their robes and put off their broidered garments and shall clothe themselves with trembling. And they shall sit upon the ground and shall tremble at every moment and be astonished at thee. As for the beings themselves, this is from a book. What book is this? If you've watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the character, the French guy, can't remember his name. But anyway, he was based upon a real person. He was based upon a French investigator, UFO investigator by the name of Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée and J. Allen Hynek worked together. They lectured together. I think they wrote a book together. But as for the beings themselves, Vallée draws many analogies to the worldwide sightings of non-human, shape-shifting, airily adept beings throughout history. These beings appear to mankind in thousands of different guises. They don't all look alike. Think of fish in the sea. Think of the heavens as being an ocean. And think of the fish of the sea. Do all the fish of the sea look alike? Good night. There's some strange looking cats down there. Okay? They possess extraordinary powers and frequently aim to partake of and or take away something belonging to humans, desiring to communicate with or simply play tricks on them. I believe in a trickster type devil. Loki was a god, real god from Norse mythology, and he was the trickster god. If you woke up one day and all your milk was gone all of a sudden, and there was no explanation for it, they would say, well, that was Loki. or if you put your cow in the barn and 2 minutes later turn around and they're out in the field again, they would say that's Loki. There is a ranch in Utah called Skinwalker Ranch. That's not the real name of it, but that's the name that's been given to it. And the story starts out, this guy bought this ranch, and he had some very expensive bulls that he was going to raise on it. That was going to be his living, to raise these bulls and sell the seed and everything else and make his money. And all of a sudden, these bulls come up missing. He has no idea where they are. And these, we're talking prime, expensive bulls. And he starts freaking out. And he's got a one of these storage containers that you see on ships and that. He's got that. They're all locked inside there, crammed in there like sardines. And he said, there's no way I put them in there. And he said, there's no way they got in there themselves and locked the door. And he says he finally opens the door, and they're all standing there in a daze. That really happened. I got to move on. He concludes the UFO occupants, like the elves of old, are not extraterrestrials. They are denizens of another reality. Valet believes that abductees' interaction with aliens is part of an age-old worldwide myth that has shaped our belief structures, our scientific expectations, and our view of ourselves. He writes, the same power attributed to saucer people was once the exclusive property of fairies. Fairies are devils. So, do you believe in Satan? You know what I just realized? I've not recorded this. Not recorded it. I'll probably try to pull the video off of Facebook for this, is what I'll have to do. But anyway, if you believe in devils and you believe in Satan, believe that that's what these things are. Now, this may be a guise that they're using. This may be an appearance that they're making. But nonetheless, that's what we're dealing with. And when it comes to believing this stuff, believe what God said. And if you believe in what God said, then believe what God said is going to happen. They are going to fall from the sky one of these days. I don't know when. Opening of the sixth seal comes to mind. That's Revelation 6. You study that. Isaiah 13, the whole book of Joel, Acts chapter 2, Matthew 24, all of this comes together with this. So, be ready. Pray for me that I'll get to finally record some of this stuff that I've been wanting to record. I didn't have a mind to hit the record button today. So what I'll do when I get home is I'll try to make a copy off of what was posted on Facebook and get it out there for you. I love you. Appreciate your prayers for me. I want to go home, go back to bed. And we'll plan on having church tomorrow night. And we'll see how it goes. Pray that I get better. All right? I hate being sick. I hate not doing what I want to do, what I need to do, what you guys love. So just keep us in your prayers, all right? I love you. You are the reason. I guarantee